Good morning, everybody, or afternoon, I should say. Hope everybody's doing fine and well on today. Um, the end of the month. It's over. Going into March. You got your marching orders. You know what it is. You know what time it is. We'll be in 4th of July pretty soon. June will be here. July will be here. Half the year gone. Half the year gone. Let me see. Should I show the comments on stage? It'd be easier for me. I can see them on the stage. Then won't have to have another screen. All right. Let me look at getting all my I have my thoughts together. I know what I want to talk about. I knew what I want to talk about last week, but you know, let's get into some things. I'm probably gonna have to pull some of this over to another um to another web browser, but it's all good. It's all good. So let me go through. I want to see some. I want to see some. See if they're still open or whatnot. Let me see. Let me see. No, that's maybe. Let me see. Oh yeah, that's still open. We may talk about that job. I'll come back to it. We may talk about some jobs. But I think I'm going to start with what I was going to talk about um last week, and then I'll roll into what I want to talk about. I may do the reverse, may do what I wanted to talk about this week and then do the reverse to talk about some stuff from this week. But let me see. All right. So let's get started. Oh yeah, that's the wrong thing. Let's get started on some contract stuff. I think Eric Coffey had a meeting this morning on writing proposals. It started at 9 o'clock. It was actual boot camp on how to write and respond to contract proposals. And I believe that one was for free for those that don't know. You could join and could have got in on that this morning for free. But for right now, let's talk about some proposals. Then we're gonna talk about some jobs, and then we're gonna talk about some leadership stuff that I want to discuss, and we'll probably have uh foolish finance. Usually we do foolish finance on Fridays, but I'll introduce it back here. So first things up, um there was an article out there about Google paid a startup 1 billion, and I don't know if the screen can be shared. 1 billion. The startup is called Form Energy for its massive 100-hour battery. 100 hours on a battery. They paid them 1 billion. Google announced earlier this week. Let me blow it up. That looks a little small. Google announced earlier this week that it was building a new data center. And let me quit this so don't keep jumping up. Right here. Yeah. Google paid 1 billion for this. They're building a new data center in Minnesota that will be powered by a mix of wind, solar, and a very unique battery by the startup Form Energy that's capable of discharging for days on end. Now we know the price tag for the feature of electrochemical engineering, about 1 billion. Form Energy's massive iron air battery is capable of delivering a continuous 300 megawatt of electricity for over 100 hours. It works by breathing in a sense of oxygen pumped into the cell's rust iron, which releases electrons. The battery will work to smooth the flow of electrons from 1.4 gigawatts of wind power and 200 megawatts of solar power. The startup has been chipping away at this technology for years. Like I say, about 5 years, give or take a startup, anywhere from 2 to 5 years on the startup, right? And it has built a factory in West Virginia. Again, I had this talk last week at Samsara about West Virginia to produce batteries, but it hadn't landed a major customer until the recent deal with Google. With a big order on the books from Form Energy, the CEO Matteo Germilo uh, said that his company is in the process of raising a $500 million round. So I think at 200 million, you're worth 1 billion. So 2.5 billion, and then they just got a billion from them. The form has raised 1.4 billion to date, according to PitchBook. So they could be evaluated around about 5 billion on this company, right? So if you're looking at that, if you're looking at jobs, I'll be looking there. But it sounds like it's more on the maybe on the electrical side or the side of electrical engineering, maybe some chemistry or something of that nature. Um, I, I don't know I don't know what you want to talk about, Farron. Talking about working overseas in the Middle East. What about it? You work overseas in the Middle East. I don't know what else to tell you on that other than the pay. We discussed that already before on the pay and the difference in pay, but and that depends on the contract. Oh well, it's always risk. It's always risk when you're not in the United States. Let's be clear. It's not just the Middle East. It's risk everywhere. It's risk in Africa, working in Djibouti. It's risk in working in Europe. It's risk in working in Australia. It's risk all the way around. That's the pay that you get, but it's all risk if you're not in the United States, just to be clear. Let's see. All right, next up, the Pentagon takes its first step toward blacklisting Anthropic. So that's huge. Let me go and see if I can find another one. Yeah, blacklisting at Anthropic. It looks like that's blocked, at least on that block on that browser. All right, here goes CNBC right here. We'll take it from here. President Trump ordered the U.S. government to immediately cease using the technology from artificial intelligence company Anthropic. So there you go. There, the AI startup faces pressure from the Department of Defense to comply with the demands that it can use the company's technology without restrictions. The Defense Secretary Peter Hegseth, soon after Trump's orders, he was ordering the Pentagon to designate Anthropic a supply chain risk to national security after the AI startup refused to comply with the demands about the use of its technology. Really pushing them, bulldogging them is really what you want. It's really what it is. Trump, in his True Social podcast, said there would be a 6-month phase out for agencies such as the Department of Defense, which is using Anthropic's products at various levels. So that's another thing for someone to come in and actually fill that void. So just something there. Um, Trump said on X that he was ordering the Pentagon to designate Anthropic a supply chain risk after the start refused to comply. Anthropic said in a statement late on Friday that it's deeply saddened by the developments. The company said it would change any supply chain risk designation in court. We believe the destination will both be legally unsound and set a dangerous precedent for any American company that negotiates with the government. Anthropic would sign a $200 million contract with the Pentagon in July, wanting assurances that the AI model would not be used for fully autonomous weapons or weapons of mass domestic surveillance of Americans, and they don't want to be a part of that. Um, Again, a lot of companies have a moral clause in it, and so they don't want to be a part of it. Um, and so they put that inside of their negotiations with said government or contractor or so forth. So they want to use them how they want to. Again, they don't want to use it that way. So be on the look. I will follow this a little bit closely as to which way they go as well too. They'll find someone else to do it for sure. But the question becomes is the technology as good as Anthropic's? And that's the question that you have to ask. And you have to ask yourself the time to adoption and the time for removal. If it's already going to take 6 months to remove them, that means it's going to probably take 6 months for someone to adopt the newer technology and adjust and roll it into the fold. So you're looking at it, you just wasted a year if you really want to know the truth. And that's what's happening there. So just something to keep in mind when you're looking at that. Um Exclusive ByteDance value at 550 billion in proposed share sale by General Atlantic. So the ByteDance, remember now, just last year, I don't know if you guys were paying attention to the jobs that I was posting from ByteDance. Their jobs were going anywhere from 250 to 500,000. And that was on DevSecOps, site reliability engineering, and so forth. Let me look and see if I can search our jobs to see if I can find ByteDance jobs in here. Yeah, right here. So I'll go right here. I think LJ, I think you posted some. I posted some. Let me scroll up and see if the job link may be dead. Probably is. It's been a minute. And ByteDance doesn't post as high anymore. I've seen them come down like 200,000 now. I've seen them come down to like, yeah, that link is dead. I've seen them come down there to be around 250 to 350. But last year they were more like 350 to 450, teetering on 500,000. So they've come down in their skills. So this one right here, the one I had was looking at um being a infrastructure engineer. So let me look up ByteDance jobs right now and see what we're pulling back now. um yeah, they got software development, global payment, so forth and so on. Let me look and see what they got out here posted on Indeed. Let's go here. So now we're ranging anywhere from 122 to 246, 246, 307 for a tax director is in San Jose, 359 for a machine learn engineer in San Jose. Um ByteDance here 75 to 173. No, let me blow it up so you guys can see that a little better there. Do 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 do. It pulled back 314 jobs for ByteDance. Let me go with pay above 255. All right, site reliability engineer 177 to 341. Here we go. A senior tech lead LLM network software developer engineer in San Jose, 187 to 438. If you're working in the storage arena, 177 to 341. 187 to 359, 416 for tech lead, AI infra compute. Um, let's look at this. Design, prototype, key technology products, review design and implementation, and ensure it is aligned with long-term vision. computer science, AI and AI infrastructure, tech lead experience, deep understanding of cloud infrastructure and AI infrastructure, good communication, GPU cluster management, scheduling, LLM inference engines, machine learning frameworks such as PyTorch and so forth, AI infrastructure, including the next gen CPU, GPU training, and so forth. Um, 198 to 416. Compensation may vary outside of this range depending on the number of factors, including the candidate's qualifications. The base pay is part of the total package that is provided to compensation and recognize employees for their work. But you may also receive a discretionary bonus incentives, and restricted and RSUs as well too. So, and there's out of Los Angeles unincorporated candidates as well. So again, there's that, right? And yeah, a multimodal AI algorithm expert, 208 to 438, a tech lead research DPU, and AI infrastructure, up to 416, research for storage LLM. Again, ByteDance, they got tons of jobs. I want to safe to say they're probably only pulling from the LA market or the West Coast market, probably. Um, there may be some people that have moved out there, but again, just showing you what's out there in terms of like infrastructure and AI, in that regards. And so, ByteDance is in a deal that values the Chinese social media giant of 550 billion. Two people with knowledge of matters said, marking a dramatic rise in the privately held shares. The potential stake divestment will be the first since the Trump administration cleared sale for the U.S. interests of ByteDance TikTok unit in January, and marks the 66% jump in the value since a share buyback last year priced the company at 330 billion. So they're doing a buyback of their shares. So again, when we start talking about these companies and their valuations and their buyback and so forth, let's go over what an actual buyback is. The place I like to use for that is Investopedia, because I think they have the easiest information to follow when you're talking about just trying to understand things. So let's go look at buyback. What does it actually mean? Let's see. Let me look. Inflation, company stock purchases. Let's see. I'll go this route here. All right, here we go. All right, what happens when a company goes in to do a buyback? All right, so here we go. This came out in July 24th for 2025. So here we go. A buyback, also known as a share repurchase, occurs when a company purchases own outstanding stock shares to reduce the number on the open market. This strategic move aims to enhance the value of the remaining share by decreasing supply. Companies often undertake buybacks to signal confidence in their financial stability and to counter the risk of major share gaining a controlling interest, which could lead to unwanted takeover. A buyback or a share repurchase occurs when a company buys its own share, reducing the number of shares on the open market. The motivation for buybacks: the companies may initiate buybacks if their shares are undervalued, to reward shareholders, or to prevent hostile takeovers. An economic impact: the buybacks can enhance the stock's earnings per share (EPS) and lower the price to earnings, the PE ratio, like how much it take for you to buy into the stock. The criticism of buybacks critics argue that buybacks may signal a lack of profitability growth opportunities and can deplete cash reserves, posing a risk during economic downturns. The regulatory and tax consideration, recent legislation like the inflation, I shouldn't say inflammation, like the Inflation Reduction Act of 2022 imposes a 1% excise tax on certain stock buybacks, affecting the financial attractiveness. So that's an overall view of buybacks. I encourage you all to use Investopedia when you all have questions about what something is or you're not understanding something. It just gives you a quick definition and examples. So I do like Investopedia for that. All right, so we did these two. We did these two. Did some two. All right, Kratos. Drone maker Kratos Defense seeks 1 billion in share sales. So let's go and look at this. Anybody have any has anyone ever heard of Kratos? If you have not, you need to go look at their site for jobs as well. Um, Let me pull that up and then we'll talk about this article. So here's their site right here. All right. Need time to come up. There we go. You can pick by city and state capabilities, job type. We could say let's go with full time. Let's pick a city. So here we can see all the different cities in which they have jobs at. Let's look at the one where they got the most. Looks like they got the most out in Colorado Springs. And so in Colorado Springs, they're looking for a chief project engineer, ISSM, several ISSMs, a network engineer, a lead design architect, so forth and so on. Now, if you want to find out what they're paying, not it's in Colorado Springs. I can tell you, and it's not a lot of us out there in Colorado Springs, from what I've been told. Never worked in Colorado Springs, but what I've been told is not a lot of us. And the reason why I know this because I met some people from that worked in Colorado Springs, and they was just had like, I'm just happy to see it's more than just me in the place. So that's what I got from Colorado Springs. So let's look at Kratos, Colorado Spring salary range. Let me just look that up, see what we're pulling back. So let me see. Looks like we're pulling back anywhere from 115 to about 170, give or take. Yeah, I see some maybe 180. So you probably be around what I got one for a hardware engineer on the low end at 301. So you may go from probably 115 to 300 depending on the job. It seems like the range that I'm seeing here, and that's job dependent. And let me show you what I'm also looking at here. So again, I'm gonna blow this up here. Um, so we got corporate counsel 182 annually, and the lowest admin assistance 46. Average defense. Don't know what happened there. That's nice. Let's go back to. Oh no, that wasn't it. It was this. HR, marketing. So they got somebody up here around legal is around 180, engineering 129, product manager 176, senior, junior, marketing design. And then if you go back here, you see salary ranges from 47 to 283. So I think that's really depending on the person. Also, probably the location I just told Colorado Springs, but it could also be the location and so forth. Right? Food too bland out there. I don't know. I never been. I had the opportunity to go, and I was like, "Nah, y'all go ahead." All right, so Kratos. All right, the San Diego-based firm is offering shares from for 83 to 85 each in a share sale marketed overnight, according to people familiar with the matter. The price range represent a discount of as much as 10% to Thursday's closing price. The share sale is fully subscribed following a confidential marketing effort. One of the people said, asking not to be identified in the information, as this information isn't public. Shares of Kratos fell 4.8% to $87 each. And after hours trading on Thursday, the stock climbed 21% this year, uh, up to through Thursday's close. The U.S. stocks have rallied. Defense stocks have rallied in 2026, extending last year's stellar performance of geospatial tensions ratchet higher and military spending plans to match. So Kratos shares failed. First quarter 335 million to 300 to 345 million, that missed the average analyst estimate of 346. But again, be on the lookout for Kratos. If you guys don't know what they do, my best suggestion would be just to hit up YouTube and then just type in Kratos, and you will see. Um, let's see. Let's add Colorado to that so we can narrow that down. All right, so here's Kratos security expands into Colorado Springs. That was 8 years ago. Um, here's their stuff here out here. Here they are in the space community, so you can just get a good idea of what that looks like for Kratos Defense. Here's a little snippet right here. I won't play the sound here. You can just kind of breeze through some of their stuff. Unmanned Systems Division. So this is their Unmanned Systems Division, swarming technology called Wolfpack. This was 8 years ago, so this is already out. They're already doing this. Autonomous drones, premiere of FMV feeds and so forth, right? Um, so you'll be able to you can capture all of this on their site. This right here is working with the Swedish space fan, so we're getting FMV feeds and so forth. So again, go take a look at it, see what you think, what your thoughts are. It's already happening, and underneath this is AI infrastructure. Underneath this is a platform. Underneath this is DevSecOps, secure and site reliability engineering, security engineering, the whole nine. Data integration, data mesh, working with networks, the whole nine. So anytime you think you can't do this, that means you're not looking at it from a perspective of how do you take something, get the data, integrate it, and use the data somewhere else. And what does that data actually have to live in order for you to do that? So, just giving you some insight there. All right, so let's move over to some things I want to talk about. Let me see if I can find the video. We'll get into this video in a minute, but I want to talk about leadership versus managing. Um, I find a lot of people don't understand leadership versus managing. So let's start with the basics first. Let's define leadership and let's define managing. And then and then we're gonna roll into some examples, and then I'm gonna give you my take on leadership versus managing. So um let's talk about it. Mm, 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 mm. So this is I just pulled Chat GPT real quick, and I'll give you my own personal thoughts here. All right. A manager executes direction, implements plan, organizes people, maintains stability. Where a leader sets direction, creates a vision, inspires people, and drives change. So you ask yourself, are you a leader in what you do? Like, are you a leader in what you do? Are you being managed? Are you being led? Are you a leader in what you do? Are you just managing your time or buying your time on said project? All right. So, give you my thoughts on this. And it kind of can blend. So, when you lead, for me, this is Tameika talking. This is what I look for in leadership. I look for someone that isn't just confident, but they're confident with data, right? And when I say confident with data, meaning you've done this before, you have the data to prove it, and you've seen and the outcome. You can't tell me to go this way and you don't have anything to prove that it will work. Now, let's be clear. Some things are new. You don't know if it's going to work or not. So therefore it's a trial and error situation. I get that part. But in that trial and error and telling someone to go a direction, you've done your homework to say, this is the direction we should go. Here's how we can do this. Here's what I know we can do. Here's what I've taken. Like if I tell you to go do something, it's not because I think it's going to work. It's because I've sat down and tinkered with it. This is the direction, and I know it works. I'm a person, I tinker. So let me get in there and get my hands dirty and see how it works. Not just, oh, I think we should do this, and you have no data to back it up. So in your day to day, you guys should be looking at what you're doing and backing it up with data, meaning you actually do the work. You actually go in and actually do it. So you know there is some potential gotchas or so forth or so on. Does that make sense for everybody? Put a one in the chat. Makes sense. Let me know. All right. So mindset. A leader is like, where are we going? Why does it matter? How do we transform? And how do I grow people? Again, you always thinking about how you can grow your team, not just your team, but the project, the skill sets, how to communicate, how people are learning from each other. These are things that a leader thinks about. It's almost like I'm. It's almost like you're a parent, if that makes sense. I want you to get there, but I want to help you get there and maybe put I don't know, I don't want to say I want to put guardrails around you, but it has to be within these bounds because it has to relate to what we're doing. Right? A manager thinking is what needs to get done, who is responsible, are we on schedule, and our risk control. And most of the time, in most cases, and this is just what I have seen, most people don't respect managers because we know that you're just asking questions, but you're not going to get in there and fight the good fight. You're not going to get your hands on keyboard. You're not going to come in and set a tone or a precedence that needs to get done. You're not going to do that. We know that. And most people would say, well, that's not what a manager should do. A manager should be hands off. Well, the question is, does the manager think they're a leader or do they think they're just managing? Because most managers think they're leaders and they're not. They're just managing. They PowerPoint presentations, click, 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 send a couple of emails and go on about their business. That's managing. Also, most managers are looking for someone to report to them on information they can go get for themselves because they're too lazy to go get it. We're building leaders around here. If I ask you to do something, it's because I know how to do it. Can't you be both an effective manager and a leader? Define effective manager. Because what I don't want people to get confused is in management, yes, you can ask what needs to get done. But are you going to step in and help get it done? If you see your team is struggling, are you going to step in and help them? If you see that no one is responsible for something, are you going to step in and do it? Or are you going to assign someone to do it? Right? Most people who manage, they just talk. They don't want to do shit. And that's what I've seen a lot. These are things that I've seen. I prefer someone who's gonna come in. You're gonna type up an email and you're like, "Let's go over here and see if we can get it done." Let me let me tell you a manager that I had. This is when I lived in DC, and we got in a whole box of machines, Cisco machine. We got a whole bunch of routers and switches. We got a whole bunch of servers and stuff like that. And we had to move from building to building and all that stuff like that. Let me tell you something. That manager, I was like, "Hey, we're gonna be here all night." He was like, "Well, let's not be here all night." I said, "Okay." I said, "How does that work?" He's like, "I'm gonna be here." He got his car, I got my car. Um, my other team member got his car, and at the time I was married, my husband came up there. We took all that stuff down. We lifted it up. We put them on rolling carts. We rolled them out to the out the door, loading them up in the person is going to kick in when they need to. They're not gonna sit on the side and be like, "Well, y'all let me know when you're finished." You're not gonna respect that person. You're just not. You're just not. You don't like, why you don't get your hands dirty? Why you don't get your nails dirty? Oh, I sent two people your way. Did they not show up? No, you could be the third person. Bring that ass. Wrap it up. Right? The team is a reflection of the manager or the leader. The team is a reflection of the most of the time the team is a reflection of the manager. If the manager is is sitting on the side, 9 times out of 10, the team gonna sit on the side. Just true. All right, influence versus authority. A leader is influence based, a manager is authority based. Do as I say. The leader is gonna get out there and do it with you. And that's what you guys got to understand that, right? You got to know when you're in an interview if that's a manager or a leader. And you know what? In the interview, you can ask the person, are you a manager or are you a leader? You just want to know, who am I talking to? Who am I working with? Who are you? You said, yes, in my leadership training, I was taught to lead by example of the behavior and the work ethics expected. Exactly. If you're not showing up to meetings and not coming in, asking questions and sitting on the sideline, your people gonna sit on the sideline. You'll have one or two that's hungry, but most for the most part, if you don't care, they don't care. Because they're gonna be like, whatever. But you also gotta take care of your team. You also gotta take care of your team. When I say you gotta take care of your team, check on them, see how they're doing, who they are, where they at, what do they need from you. You gotta check on your team. Right? At a senior or principal level, you're expected to influence across organizational boundaries, often without direct authority. You don't have to tell me what to do. I'm gonna do it. I'm not waiting for someone to say, "Hey, you think I can do?" No, I'm already doing it. Here's what I put together. I just want to show y'all what we did. Here's what we're working on. Here's what we got out there. Here's where this is at. Here's what we're marching towards. If you got a problem with it, punch a hole in it. Get back to me. Sitting on the sideline waiting for somebody to tell you how to move, you're gonna always be looking for a job. You're gonna always be looking for a job. Listen, a lot of people like to stay in a box. I'm not doing no more than what's in this box. And that's cool. That's your thing, that's cool. What ends up happening is they just they just take that box and they give it to somebody else. That's usually what happens. Because there's a box. I can put anybody in that box. What I can't do is I can't stop that. I can't go find that person that can think about this and this and this and this and things I ain't even never thought about. They're not gonna you can't replace that person. You want that person on your team. You want that person in the fire with you, right? So leader, long-term strategy, innovation, manager, short to mid-term operations execution. All right. People impact. Create clarity during ambiguity, raise the bar culturally, develop develop other leaders, and inspire the discretionary effort. All right. You need to be looking at, I am going to create other leaders. I don't want to lead. I want to go lead something else. I need somebody to come along and replace that. Managers, track performance, run meetings, resolve blockers, maintain predictability. That shit sound boring as hell. I'm on my work laptop now making some corrections to this project that I'm responsible for based off of the QA findings yesterday. Exactly. 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 And here's another thing. Just because somebody said something don't mean you cannot question it. Just because you put something out there, don't think somebody can't question you. We get into these spaces now where someone says something and people think that are above being questioned or reproach. Why? Somebody may have a legitimate question. And no, I don't want to talk about that shit after we get out of this meeting. I said what I said. Let's discuss in this meeting. Now, if we think it's going to take longer than this meeting, then we should schedule another meeting. But you're not above somebody coming, going against what your thought process is. How do you become better? You want an echo chamber. If you want an echo chamber, you should have some children. If you want an echo chamber, go have some children. I do it for you, daddy. Go get you a feminine, fit, submissive, non-thinking wife. I do it for you, daddy. Go get you. Where my girl at? Where my girl at? Hold on. Uh, hold on. Come on, Vanessa Bell Calloway. Bark like a dog. Do what you need. Do what you want. You can have. I've been trained to serve you. Whatever you like. Whatever kind of music you like. But what do you do? Do you have a favorite food? What's your favorite? Whatever food you like. Go get what you can see out there. Hey, you can go get a whole team like this. Let's get her to bark now. She's got to bark like a big dog. Your team is out there waiting for you like that. All right. Simple context. Let's go. A leader, and this is it's reading some stuff I've asked about. So let's go with zero trust architecture. The leader behavior defines the strategic why, risk reduction, compliance, and resilience. Aligns with execs on the roadmap, evangelizes transformation, and mentors architect on the new security model. The manager behavior assigns implementation tasks, tracks sprint velocity. I do that too. Escalates delivery risk and ensures documentation is complete. Both are necessary. Both are necessary. But this right here, well, you're tracking the sprint velocity, the implementation task. This leader is gonna hop in here and help out with that implementation task when somebody is stuck, or remove the roadblock, or find or look at it and try to shift direction. The trap. Many people confuse being busy with leading, having authority with leadership, and delivering tasks with impact. You can manage efficiently and still fail to lead. So at the principal level, what differentiates a senior individual contributor from executives is manager optimize systems, leaders reshape systems. That's why executive interviews focus heavily on influence, vision, conflict navigation, organizational impact, and culture shaping. A quick self check. If most of your week is status meetings, ticket tracking, and delivery follow up, your manager. If most of your week is driving alignment with across stakeholders, setting architectural direction, coaching senior engineers, and navigating ambiguity, then you're leading. D, which one you think I'm doing? Is it a little bit of both? Yeah, D says a little bit of both. Let's ask this, D. Which one do you think I'm more effective at? Leading or managing? D says leading. All right. That's just an overview. Now, there is a YouTube video out there about this. And the reason why I brought it up is because I think sometimes you all getting interviews and you present yourself as being easy to manage versus I understand your position, but I also can lead, and it's a fine line. Typically, what I have seen, most people are looking for someone that is an individual contributor that can go off on their own and work by themselves. Hold on. Yep, this one right here. All right, let's get this one because this is one of the ones I was looking at, and let's pull this over.
Last 2024,
Yeah, let me know if
I
you can hear
posted
it.
a clip on Instagram called The Difference Between Managing and Leading. It was from a video on my YouTube channel that I had recorded called simply Leader or Manager, Which Are You? The clip I posted on Instagram has received over 2.5 million views so far. In reading a lot of the comments, it was clear that people appreciated getting the clarification and discerning which, if not both,
And can y'all hear? Just the checking sound there.
behaviors their role really entails in spite of the title. I hope I made the point that both leadership and managerial roles are required in virtually every organization. I frankly can't think of any where they're not. Hi, I'm Ginny Clark, a conscious leadership expert who spent 2 decades in executive recruiting and talent management. Having worked with giants like Google, Spencer Stewart, I discovered that the secret to transformative leadership lies in the 5 dimensions of conscious leadership. And I'm here to help you unlock your full potential. Join me on this channel as we embark on an honest and vulnerable journey together to become the kind of leader that genuinely inspires organizational transformation. I've got a little career boosting secret for you. If you want the inside scoop on leadership plus some juicy tips and hot takes you won't hear anywhere else, I've got a newsletter that's basically your personal career coach in your inbox. Just click the link below in the description to join in. Oh, and if you're loving this content, I know you are, click that subscribe button. It's like giving me a virtual fist bump, ensuring you won't miss out on any future videos. The Economic Times featured an article in June of 2023 that laid out the skills, as they call them, of managers and leaders. And as I compared them to the numerous competencies I've learned to identify and assess over my years as an executive recruiter, I found that I couldn't agree more with this summary. So I'm sharing much of the article here with some of my own commentary. Let's first kind of define what leadership is, leveraging some of their words. Leadership is about inspiring and guiding individuals or teams toward a shared vision or goal. Effective leaders focus on motivating and empowering their followers, fostering innovation, and creating a sense of purpose and direction. Here, I would add that conscious leaders must also model self awareness, compassion, humility, and integrity. The key skills of a leader.
Whoa. Integrity, humility. A lot of people don't have that. A lot of people have egos and look to humble people. Humility, right? A lot of people don't have that. Sometimes you're wrong and sometimes you're right. It's okay.
Our vision, leaders have a clear vision of the future. They can articulate a compelling, inspiring story of what the organization can achieve. Leaders influence and inspire others to follow their vision willingly. They lead through inspiration rather than authority. And here I'd add, this is distinctly different from exerting power, manipulation, or coercion.
Woo! Let's rewind. Let's rewind this little segment right here. Let's rewind that.
Vision. Leaders have a clear vision of the future. They can articulate a compelling, inspiring story of what the organization can achieve. Leaders influence and inspire others to follow their vision willingly. They lead through inspiration rather than authority. And here I'd add, this is distinctly different from exerting power, manipulation, or coercion. A high level of empathy enables leaders to understand and connect with their team members on a personal level. This fosters trust and collaboration. When it comes to risk taking, leaders are willing to take calculated risks to achieve their vision. They embrace change and encourage their team to do the same. Adaptability. Leaders can adapt to changing circumstances and are open to new ideas and approaches. I refer to this competency as navigating ambiguity. A long-term focus. Leadership often involves long-term planning and strategic thinking. Leaders consider the big picture and future goals. Other terms for this strategic mindset are systems thinking, critical thinking, strategic agility.
All right. For those that have never been to this show, I talk about systems thinking all the time. All the time. All right. So now I have to go dig out. We got to get through this video, but I got to go dig out. So let me go and go to my Safari. Let's get logged in. And by the way, Safari had the nerve to go up on my payment this week. I've been paying $29. They hit me with 32. I gotta call them and find out what's going on. I've been a long time member. Hitting me with no 32. You've been $29. I'll rewind it. Let me see if I can find that book that I had, Understanding Systems Thinking. There's a book that we were going through. Oh, now I can't find it. Oh, let me look and see if it's on my let me look and see if it's in my bookshelf. Let me look. Hold on. No, it's not pulling back from my bookshelf. But there's one out here. Hold on. I'm pulling it up. This one is a shortcut. It's only like 5 pages long. Um, you know what I don't like about Safari anymore is you used to could download the books, or you could download the you could take a page, say give it a PDF, right? And it would generate just those pages. It used to generate just those pages and put them into a PDF, and then I could take that and send it out. They don't do that anymore. You can't download books from them anymore. I used to be like, "Oh, I got that book, I want to download that book." I can't do that anymore. And I don't like that. So hold on, let me do one last little run through. Hold on. Yeah. None of these were the books that I was pulling from. Gosh damn it. When I find it, I'm gonna look for it because I know this gonna bother me because it was. I think I might have put the book in out there already, but I don't know. Check books. I'll check books. All right, let me run this. Let's go here. All right, it's only 12 minutes long. Oh, you said who is this? Her name is Jenny Clark, and she got a website, Jenny Ginny Clark, Clarke, Clark. But she has that's her website.com if you hit her website up too. All right, let's get busy.
Is and approaches. I refer to this competency as navigating ambiguity. A long term focus. Leadership often involves long term planning and strategic thinking. Leaders consider the big picture and future goals. Other terms for this strategic mindset are systems thinking, critical thinking, strategic agility. People development. Leaders prioritize the growth and development of their team members. They provide opportunities for learning and skill building. So glad they included this one. This is indeed a responsibility of a leader, but I fear too few leaders are assessed for this when being hired or during the regular performance evaluation cycles. Consequently, their compensation is rarely linked to it. Management. Now, management is about organizing resources, processes, and people to achieve specific objectives and maintain stability. Interesting term. Man-
So, how many of you out there are principal engineers or senior engineers? How many of you are principal engineers or senior engineers or tech leads? Principal, senior, or tech leads?
is focused on planning, organizing, and executing
Uh-oh.
tasks efficiently and effectively. Now, the key skills of a leader: planning. Managers are skilled planners. They set goals, create detailed plans, and allocate resources to achieve specific outcomes. Organization. Effective managers can organize tasks, processes, and resources to ensure that everything runs smoothly and efficiently. Delegation. Managers delegate tasks and responsibility to team members based on their skills and abilities. Delegation is crucial for workload distribution. And I'll add here that delegation is important to ensure team members are given stretch opportunities, equally important for managers to avoid micromanaging when delegating. Give people the space to do things their way, but on time. Problem solving, another managerial responsibility. Managers are adept problem solvers. They identify issues, analyze root causes, and implement solutions to keep the organizations on track. Time management. Effective time management is essential for managers. They must prioritize tasks and allocate their time wisely to meet deadlines. Similarly, managers focus on optimizing processes and workflows to achieve the best results with the available resources. Execution. Managers ensure that plans are executed effectively and that tasks are completed according to established standards and timelines. Now, there are overlapping skills because while leadership and management have distinct roles and skills and other competencies, there are areas where they absolutely overlap. Successful leaders and managers often possess the following shared skills, or as I call them, competencies. Communication. Both leaders and managers must communicate effectively. Clear communication is essential for conveying goals, expectations, and feedback. My ad is don't forget, feedback is a gift and is the only way to support the growth and development of your team and yourself. Ask
Feedback. Everyone gets it. Everyone gets it. If you take it and somebody's like poo-pooing, you're poo-pooing on my parade. You hurt my feelings. Get out of your feelings.
feedback from your team and your superiors. Decision making. Both roles involve making decisions, whether it's about the direction of the organization is in leadership or operational matters is in management. Interpersonal skills. Building positive relationships with team members and colleagues is important for leaders and managers.
Woo! Man, if y'all don't, she don't talk that talk. Interpersonal relationships. Do the people you work with trust you? Do they like you? Do they want to be around you? Do they even like to even hear you call your name called? If the answer is no, then you have a problem. Now, let's not twist people having a problem with your skin color versus people having a problem with how you communicate and talk to them. Because you could have a problem with how people communicate and talk to you. Let's be clear. Man, put a 1 in the chat if you like what you hearing, man. She cooking. She couldn't have said it better than she own it. I'm telling you, she own it. She own it.
Now, this can't be overstated. Too many people in managerial and leadership roles fail to understand that they need to demonstrate their humanity, occasional vulnerability, and compassion for people. It doesn't make you weak. On the contrary, you are stronger and build stronger teams. Adaptability. In today's rapidly changing world, both leaders and managers have to be adaptable and open to new ideas and approaches. Motivation. While leaders primarily inspire and motivate, effective managers also motivate their teams to achieve specific objectives. Conflict resolution. Both roles may require handling conflicts within the team or organization. Conflict resolution skills are valuable for leaders and managers. My take, I think we're suffering from an epidemic of conflict aversion and people-pleasing tendencies, which undermine one's ability to give needed feedback and to say what needs to be said versus what others want to hear. This aversion can also impede sound decision-making. You're too busy wanting to please maybe a few, rather than doing what is in the best interest of the majority.
You're too busy pleasing the few rather than what is the best interest of the majority. You too busy pleasing and running around with them DSLs rather than looking at the overall picture of where we're trying to go. Man, if she ain't cooking, she may make me end the stream on this note. She ain't cooking. What? I'm looking at some more of her content now. Like I told you, I've been following her for a while, but I have some stuff that she's done before that I looked at, and I was like, man, yeah, she on it. I got this one here. I'm gonna load this one up too. Let me get it copied over, and then we're gonna run through this one. Yeah, it's rarely I get excited about. Nah, I ain't talking about dial-ups. Alexia, Alexia. No, I ain't talking about DSLs.
Here's the importance of the balance. The most successful organizations recognize the importance of balancing leadership and management. A well rounded approach combines the inspirational and strategic qualities of leadership with the efficient and organized execution of management. Here's why this balance is crucial: direction and execution. Leadership provides a direction and vision for where the organization should go, while management ensures that the organization can execute those plans effectively. Innovation and strategy. Leadership encourages innovation and adaptability, while management maintains stability and efficiency in day to day operations. Inspiration and accountability. Leaders inspire and motivate, while managers hold individuals and teams accountable for their performance and results. Long term success. A balance of leadership and management helps organizations achieve long term success by pursuing strategic goals and efficiently executing them. Employee engagement.
All right, let's back up because I think you guys missed some things right here. What she just said right there. Let me go right back here a little bit. Let's go.
Inspire and motivate, while managers hold individuals and teams accountable for their performance and results.
All right, holding teams accountable for their performance. Right. So again, this comes out to what are the metrics that we need to adhere to, so that way you again measurement is let me pull this up. Uh, Okay. So measurement. So when we talk about your performance, typically people like to use the SMART system. Okay. The SMART system, specific. It's actually SMART, and I'll pull this over here. SMART, specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time bound. So let me pull this out. And most people use this as part of a measurement here. But here we go right here. So um, the system is used to measure progress against clearly defined goals. But again, what is the goal? The goal has to be defined, right? And it has to be clear, and it has to be achievable, right? And it has to be achievable, right? So, component here, a clearly defined goal, specific, clearly defined goal, increase deployment frequency, right? That's a measurement of what we want to increase deployment frequency. Measurable, quantifiable measurement. Is that 2 days? Is it from 2 to 10? When we're talking about CI/CD deployment or whatnot, achievable, realistic target based on the current capacity of not just you, because it may not be achievable because you may have a outside dependency outside of you that may or may not affect what you can achieve, right? So it has to be realistic. Like that's not a target I can hit. And you have to be honest with yourself, and you have to tell that person the why. Because most people, all they hear is you can't do it. No, here's the reason why I can't do it in this time frame, because I'm relying on X, Y, and Z, and that will be a roadblock for me. If we're talking about just me depending on doing something, then it needs to be based on things that I can achieve without roadblocks and outside dependencies. Time bound, deadline, and within 90 days. So for a DevOps content here, increase CI/CD deployment frequency from 2 per week to 10 per week within 90 days by automating approval workflows, deployment count measurement measures, deployment count week per week, lead time for change failure rate, mean time to recovery. If you want to use it for IoT, and we can get all into this here, As you see, it's pulling back things that I've looked up. But again, I'm telling you how most people are looking at you. They're using the smart system. So when you do your task, make sure your tasks follow this system. Specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time bound. That's what your tasking should follow. And on top of your tasking that follows that, you need to also identify any dependencies on that task, whether it's someone else getting something done in order to do this. You also need to identify who you're working with, because you may be working with a difficult person, you may be working with a difficult team. You may be working with somebody that's going out of town after 2 or 3 days. So you may need to get with them now, or it may adjust the time frame in which that particular task gets done. So these are things that you all should be doing, but your leader, your manager should know this and help you achieve your goals. They should be helping you achieve and have success. If they're critiquing the that you didn't do something, it's actually a reflection of them themselves, because that's something they should have known as well before assigning you a goal, before assigning you a project, before giving you that. They should all your manager, your leader should always be should be an assistant. They should be alley ooping you all the time, setting you up. You should be able to they should be coming down, looking, alley oop, no look pass, behind the back. They should be able to guide you along the way. Let uh, over here. No, go over here. Boom. They should be able to do that. All right. So let's get back to it.
Long-term success. A balance of leadership and management helps organizations achieve long-term success by pursuing strategic goals and efficiently executing them. Employee engagement. A combination of leadership and management creates a positive work environment that fosters employee engagement and job satisfaction. I know that was a lot. So here's what I want you to take away. Managing and leading are different roles. They are different behaviors or competencies required. In my experience, the best leaders also manage well, and the best managers exhibit leadership competencies. In my case, when an executive recruiter, I was mostly an individual contributor and execution oriented. I managed my engagements through other people assigned to me and my searches. For optimal results, we needed to stay in our respective lanes. I had to have a strategic or macro focus of understanding candidate markets, macro trends, impacting clients' businesses, and ensuring my client search needs were met. And moving to Google, I was still a recruiter and I executed a few searches, but I also built and led and managed 2 programs, leadership and internal mobility, 3 people, and leadership diversity, 3 people, as well as oversaw, as in led and managed, a team of recruiters, 24 people. So with the recruiters, I made sure to delineate my direct reports from the rest of the team. These directs, 6 of them, were more experienced and demonstrated managerial capabilities, even if they hadn't managed before.
All right. So what she's defining there is a clear line in how I treat each individual team and the responsibilities that each individual team has. And what's left out in that conversation is she knew each one of them, how they would respond, how they would act, understanding who they are as people, what effort and what line of effort and what they can put out. If you don't know that about your team, even if you're not a lead, if you don't know that about your team, something wrong. You need to know who can deliver. If I go here and ask this person, I know they're gonna know how to get the answer or they got the answer, right? Or they'll alley oop me to where I need to go, right? That's your move. That Understanding how to move and navigate. It's a lovely dance when it works. Now it can be a hard fall when it's not, but it's a lovely dance when it works.
My approach was to set standards for their behaviors, which I expected them to model, and hold their teams accountable for. We had weekly one on ones with collaborative agendas that we both contributed to. The sessions allow me to stay informed of the team's workload and personal considerations, offer coaching and guidance on client or team member concerns, and to ensure my directs and the rest of the team had the resources they needed to do their jobs to the best of their ability. I share this example to hopefully illustrate how the lines of managerial and leadership responsibilities and competencies can blur in the day to day. However, at the end of the day, you find your balance in the context of your teams, your company, and the sector you operate in. I will say that managing and leading my teams was one of the most gratifying periods of my career, especially as I saw them growing and finding their flow. I think that is what matters most to great leaders and managers. Did I just call myself a great leader and manager? I guess I did. And yes, I am. Now you go be one or the other or both. I get it. Taking that first step can feel daunting.
So what y'all
I've
think?
been there too.
You like? I got one more.
Take a your company's org chart.
All right,
Notice
this one is why the workplace feels like a battlefield. Ooh, woo, we finna cook again, baby. We finna cook again.
take a look at your company's org chart. Notice how it looks like a pyramid, CEO at the top, then VPs, then directors, then managers, and well, you. Everyone reports up, information flows down, and decisions get made at the top by people who are often furthest from the actual work. Now picture a battlefield in 1870. There's a general at the top, then colonels, then majors, then captains, then soldiers. Everyone reports up, orders flow down, and decisions get made at the top by people who are furthest from the actual fighting. Spot the pattern? Because there's a reason your Monday morning feels like marching into battle. Your company isn't just inspired by military structure, it is military structure transplanted wholesale from 19th century armies into 21st century businesses. Right now, over 90% of Fortune 500 companies operate with traditional hierarchical structures. We have executives who command from the C suite. We talk about reporting chains and span of control. We even call lower level employees foot soldiers and use phrases like the troops without thinking twice about it. But consider this, armies weren't designed for warfare, clear enemies, life or death decisions. Situations where speed and obedience matter more than creativity or innovation. So, why are we using the same structure to build products, serve customers, and solve complex problems in a rapidly changing world? Let's go back to 1886 and meet the man who accidentally militarized American business. His name was Henry Fayol. And he wasn't trying to turn offices into battlefields, he was trying to solve a very practical problem. Picture the chaos.
Henry Fayol. Let's go look him up, folks. Let's get some context. It's Fayol. He created the 14 principles of management. Let me give you that. Here. The 14 principles of management. You see that right there? Right. Division of work. Tasks are divided to encourage specialization, increasing efficiency and output, authority and responsibility. Managers must have authority to give orders, but with that comes responsibility for results. And I'm gonna show you another video. Discipline. Employees must respect rules, policies, and agreements. Unity of command. Employees should receive orders from one superior to avoid conflict. Unity of direction. Teams with the same objective should work under a single plan directed by one manager. Subordination of individual interests. The goals of the organization is to take precedence over personal interests. Remuneration. Compensation for work should be fair and bring in maximum satisfaction to employees and the firm. Centralization. A balance between top level authority and employee participation. That's the decentralization should be maintained. Scalar change. A clear line of authority from one top management to the lowest ranks. Order. Both material and social order are essential for efficient workplace. Equity. Managers should be fair and kind to their staff. Stability of tenure of personnel. Minimizing employee turnover and providing job security promotes efficiency. Initiative. Employees should be encouraged to create and carry out plans. And it's I was gonna say the corps promoting team spirit and unity building harmony within the organization. This right here is the worst because everybody want to go to lunch and everybody want to sit down and kumbaya. The problem is you don't even know who you work with, and the problem is most people don't want you to know who you are. I really don't care what you did this weekend. That's nice. That's great. Let's stick to the task at hand. All right, but again, I get it. You gotta have some type of alignment, some type of conversation. I get it. Small talk. It's like they like to say. But yeah, you can see it is here on Indeed's job search and so forth. So that's what that came with. Henry Fayoil. All right. All right, let's go back to the video. Now that you know the principles.
Of early industrial companies, you had hundreds, sometimes thousands of workers, but no real system for organizing them. Factory workers were basically winging it, and the results were, let's just say, messy. Production was inconsistent, quality was unpredictable, and nobody really knew who was responsible for what. Fayol looked at this chaos and thought,
Fayol.
you know what really works well? The military. And honestly, he had a point. Armies had spent centuries figuring out how to coordinate large groups of people toward common goals. They had clear chains of command, defined roles, systematic communication, everything these early factories desperately needed. So Fayol literally took military organizational principles and applied them to business. Unity of command. Everyone reports to one person. Scholar chain. Clear hierarchy from top to bottom. Centralization. Important decisions made at the top. Order. Everything and everyone in their proper place. And you know what? For the problems of 1886, this was brilliant. When you're manufacturing the same product over and over, when work is predictable and standardized, when the biggest challenge is coordination rather than innovation, military structure makes perfect sense. Then, 2 world wars turbocharged this trend. Suddenly, business leaders were literally military leaders. Eisenhower went from supreme allied commander to corporate boards. Military officers became executives. The language, the thinking, the entire approach to organizations became even militarized. By the 1950s, this wasn't just how companies were organized, it was how we thought companies should be organized. Business schools started teaching military inspired management theory. We developed concepts like strategic planning and tactical execution borrowed directly from warfare. But something interesting started happening in the 1980s and 90s. The business environment began changing faster than military style hierarchies could adapt. Technology accelerated everything. Customer expectations became more complex. Competition went global. Innovation became crucial.
All right, so I was looking up. Here's a GitLab repo out here. Um, there's a guy on Ramon Jansen. There's a course. It's 17 hours. This course and earn a badge on O'Reilly, and these are the book sections here on this course. And this course is called Essential Leadership Management Training for New Tech Managers. Let's go in here to section 1, and here are all the videos and so forth. I don't know if you can I don't know if the video I don't know the order of the videos or whatnot, but at least you have an idea of what section 1 is about. Let me see, start, I guess, video 2. Okay, looks like a workbook here. But I'm just giving you something you guys can go and start looking at things that you want to see. So leadership and management for skills for new leaders. The workbook, your workbook is your companion to an online course, Leadership for Management Skills in Tech for New Managers. It's designed to help you put key concepts into practice, reflect your learning, and develop skills needed to lead with confidence in a tech environment. You'll find this exercise, inside you'll find exercises, templates, and key takeaways that align with the course material. Use this workbook actively to take notes, complete exercise, and revisit sections as you grow your role. Leadership is a journey, and the workbook is here to support you on your journey. And so they got the table of contents, introduction and foundations, building relationships and working with your manager, time management, productivity and delegation, leadership models and motivation, team management, building, learning, and facilitating high performance teams, performance management, communication and conflict resolution, HR management, project management, process management, and managing change and personal growth. And then they go into everything, and there's a workbook here. Let me back up to get to the main source here. So here I dropped that link there. And if you are in O'Reilly, here is the course here. Schedule learning reminder. So sure. Next. I gotta pick something. Required. Select all days. Sure. Create reminder. And now saved. All right, on my calendar. And if you guys want to do this together, we could do this together. I'll have to put together something on something for an hour or something like that, because it looks like this is about an hour. Maybe set up an hour on maybe we'll do this on Wednesdays for an hour. We'll run through this. Um it's part of our weekly meetup as well. Because I want you guys to be leaders. I don't want you to be followers, but I want you to be a good leader. I want you to be able to call your own shots, your own destiny when we're looking at this. Um, let me see. Let me see what else he has as an instructor. The manager's AI playbook, mastering chat GPT, everyday leadership, project management, expert management, and management and agile building core competencies. Let's look at that. That's a 5 hour one. Let me see if he's got a supplement out there for that one. He does. It looks like it started to download here. Anyway, introduction to agile, understanding the history, navigating in digital business landscape, navigating change in digital business landscape, from waterfall to agile, evolution of agile. Why does agile development deliver better software than traditional methods? So forth and so on. Transfer your leadership style, develop coaching excellence. And ooh, we're gonna have to talk about coaching. Ooh, woo, woo, woo. We gotta talk about coaching. Facilitate like a pro, kickstarting and developing agile and understand key agile frameworks. All right, cool. I'll leave this up right here. All right. All right, let's go back to what she was saying.
Survival. Suddenly, the very things that made military hierarchy effective, centralized decision making, clear chains of command, predictable processes, became disadvantages. While hierarchical companies were still passing decisions up and down the chain, More agile competitors were empowering teams to move quickly and adapt in real time. Think about the most innovative companies you know: Google, Netflix, Spotify, even traditional companies that have transformed themselves. They're not abandoning structure entirely, but they're definitely not operating like armies. They have networks, not hierarchies. They have empowered teams, not foot soldiers waiting for orders. Yet most companies are still structured like they're preparing for the Battle of Gettysburg instead of competing in the information age. We're using an organizational model designed for predictable physical work to handle unpredictable creative.
Right. So it's designed for, if you do A, if you do A, the result is B, and then I could take B and feed it into C, and I can have a timeline. But that's not how it works. That's not what we're working on. We're working on things that people have never done before, or we're working in it. We're building something new that doesn't have any prediction to it. And people in leadership are expecting to have this outcome at a specific time when there's not you. No one's never done it before. So how can you expect an outcome on something you've never done before in a particular time? That's just not fair.
Challenges. So I challenged AI systems again to reimagine organizational structure from scratch. If you were designing a company today to maximize human potential and adapt quickly to change, what would it look like? The responses were fascinating, honestly, pretty radical compared to traditional thinking. AI suggested that effective modern organizations might look like ecosystems rather than armies. Instead of rigid hierarchies, you'd have dynamic networks where teams form and reform based on projects and expertise. Leadership would be contextual. The person with the most relevant knowledge leads, regardless of traditional rank. One AI painted this picture: what if instead of reporting up, people were accountable to outcomes? What if instead of waiting for permission from above, teams had clear boundaries within which they could make decisions and take action? But the most intriguing insight was about information flow. AI pointed out that military hierarchies were designed for an era when information was scarce and communication was slow. Today, when information is abundant and communication is instant, why are we still filtering everything through management layers? AI suggested something called transparent accountability, where everyone can see organizational goals, metrics, and progress in real time. Instead of managers translating information up and down the chain, everyone has access to the same data and can align their work accordingly.
Everybody has access to the same data. No one is stopping you from developing a plan when you have access to the same amount of data. You have access to it. What are you going to do? Wait for somebody to tell you to do something, or you're going to move? That's the beauty of it all. You get to define how you think we should move and push that up, right?
I even challenged the basic assumption that someone needs to be in charge of everything. What if teams were self organizing about clear objectives? What if leadership emerged naturally based on expertise and situation rather than being assigned based on hierarchy? So there you have it. We're running 21st century businesses with 19th century military structures and wondering why innovation feels so hard and change takes so long. But I'm really curious about your experience with this. Have you ever worked in an organization that felt more like a network than an army, where decisions happened quickly and people felt empowered to act? Or maybe you're on the other side. You've seen what happens when there's not enough structure, when everyone's empowered, but nobody's accountable. How do you balance autonomy with coordination? And if you're in leadership, are you brave enough to question whether your organizational structure is helping or hurting your ability to compete? What would happen if you gave your teams more authority to decisions and solve problems without waiting for approval? Drop a comment and tell me, what would your ideal organizational structure look?
What do y'all think? You think she cooking? D, what do you think? Think she cooking? All right. I swear this is my last one of her. I swear, it's my last one of her. It's my last one. It's my last one, I swear. All right. This one is important. I'm gonna stop it from
I had a
starting.
to grow. I had a conversation.
All right. It says, are you outsourcing your accountability? Are you outsourcing your accountability? Are you doing the work? Let's go.
Last week that really stuck with me. Someone reached out frustrated about their career trajectory, saying, my company doesn't invest in my professional development. They don't have mentorship programs. They don't provide clear advancement paths. How am I supposed to grow? And I found myself thinking, when did we start believing that our growth is someone else's responsibility? But this goes way beyond professional development. Here's what research reveals. 83% of people blame external circumstances for their lack of progress in life. We're outsourcing accountability everywhere, waiting for our companies to develop us, our partners to make us happy, our circumstances to be perfect before we take action. A Harvard study found that people who take full ownership of their outcomes, regardless of the circumstances, are 3 times more likely to achieve their goals and report 40% higher life satisfaction. Yet we're increasingly becoming a culture of people waiting for someone else to fix our problems, create our opportunities, set our standards. The harsh reality, while you're waiting for perfect conditions, self-accountable people are creating their own opportunities in imperfect environments.
Bingo. If you're not getting up every single day and figuring it out, like, listen, you could talk to people. That's fine. Nobody say you can't talk to nobody, but you're not waiting for direction to do something is always going to be your impairment. So, and this is something I always talk about. Either are you the builder? Are you the builder? All right. Because the builder is going to look at it at the big picture and figure out what needs to get done. And if that doesn't work, be ready to shift. That worker, they work for the builder. That's just what it is.
They're not waiting for someone to take notice of their potential. They're developing it themselves. They're not waiting for circumstances to improve. They're improving despite tough circumstances. I'm not dismissing that some situations are genuinely challenging, but I am questioning something I see everywhere. Highly capable people outsourcing their accountability to systems, programs, circumstances, and other people. Are you waiting for someone else to be responsible for your growth, your standards, your outcomes? And if so, what's that really costing you? Hi, I'm Jenny Clark, the conscious leadership expert who spent 2 decades in executive recruiting and talent management, having worked with giants like Google, the kind of leader that genuinely, I've got a newsletter that's basically your personal career coach in your inbox. Just click on the link below in the description to join in. Oh, and if you're loving this content, I know you are, click that subscribe button. It's like giving me a virtual fist bump, ensuring you won't miss out on any future videos. I remember working with someone who complained constantly about not getting the opportunity she wanted. My boss doesn't stretch me, she'd say. This company doesn't invest in people like me. And you know what? She might have been right about some of that. And I do believe the workplace has some responsibility for one's development. And it should be shared by the manager and the person. But this woman was waiting for someone else to solve her career challenges while doing nothing to solve them herself. When we dug deeper, I asked her, what would you do if you were your own boss? How would you develop yourself if no one else was going to do it? The shift in her thinking was immediate. Suddenly, she started seeing possibilities everywhere: online courses, industry associations, informational interviews with people in roles she wanted, side projects that would build the skills she needed. Here's what I've observed over my years in business: there are two types of professionals: those who take ownership of their development and those who wait for it to be handed to them. The first group seeks out stretch assignments, finds their own mentors, creates learning opportunities, even in imperfect environments. They set personal standards that often exceed what's expected of them. They ask themselves, what do I need to learn to get where I want to go? And then they figure out a way to learn it. The second group waits. They wait for their manager to identify their development needs. They wait for HR to create the perfect program. They wait for someone to notice their potential and invest in it. And while they're waiting, they're often frustrated, feeling overlooked, under.
All right, so I think this is the number one problem in tech. I think people, and this is why I tell you all to get y'all money up front. I think you guys go into it thinking like, if I do good, if I work hard, they're gonna see my effort. Yes, they see it, but they're not gonna give you any money for it. Your money was upfront. That was your money. That was what you were supposed to get then. If you don't have any bonuses, if you don't have any type of bonuses or some type of structure in there that you can get recognized for within that company, you're not gonna get anything. You're just gonna get your milestones. You're gonna hit these milestones. You're gonna get this 3% raise. Maybe they may do 5% if they're feeling good. Maybe they'll toss you some stock or something like that. But you got to be working on projects that change the bottom line. You got to be working on projects that move across one within your organization and then move across organizations where it's changing the landscape and so forth. That's how you get your money. That's how you get your recognition. Yes, you did real good on building out this stack over here. You got us to where we need to be. But now you gotta challenge yourself. What's my next challenge? How I move up and how I move around. Right? That's a challenge because most people don't want to see you outshine them, but it ain't about them. You gotta move around them. Whoosh, whoosh, right? You gotta move around them. Right? Let's get back to it.
Valued, stuck. But here's what really gets me: the second group isn't necessarily less capable or less ambitious. They've just been conditioned to believe that professional development is something that happens to them rather than something they actively initiate and engage in. I know someone who decided she wanted to be the best project manager in her industry, not just good enough to keep her job. She created her own learning plan, found her own mentors, and held herself to standards that exceeded anything her company required. Guess what happened? She became indispensable, not because she was trying to impress anyone, but because she was committed to excellence for its own sake. Let me paint a picture of what outsourced accountability looks like, because it's often more subtle than we realize. You wait for your annual review to understand how you're performing instead of regularly checking in with yourself and your stakeholders about your impact. Your boss is asking those stakeholders. You expect your manager to identify your blind spots rather than actively seeking feedback from colleagues, clients, or anyone who interacts with you. You rely on your company's training budget to determine what you learn instead of taking ownership of staying current in your field. You wait for someone to offer you a challenging assignment instead of proposing projects that would stretch your own capabilities. But it goes beyond work. You wait for your partner to make you happy instead of taking responsibility for your own fulfillment. You blame your circumstances on your questionable habits instead of owning your choices. You wait for motivation to strike instead of building discipline. You expect others to set boundaries for you instead of establishing your own. Do any of these sound familiar? If so, you're not alone. but you are limiting yourself in ways you might not realize. Here's a hard truth that took me years to accept. Your manager isn't solely responsible for your career. Your company isn't responsible for your growth. Your circumstances aren't responsible for
Your manager will never be responsible for your growth. All your manager is managing. Get this out, and here's the timeline. Don't expect your manager to suggest a. Let me say it this way. Don't expect a mediocre manager to suggest what you should go learn next. A good manager is going to see what's coming down the pipe in terms of where the project is going or growing to, and it's going to already have classes lined up for X, Y, and Z to get into next. A mediocre manager don't care about that. All they care about, here's, we met our timeline. We did what we were supposed to do. There may be a little bump and bonus in there for you, and then you on your merry little way. It has nothing to do with developing your skills that can go out to anywhere in the industry. You're gonna be responsible for that. But not only that, you gotta also understand the company that you're working for may not lend you the ability to grow your skill set, so you may be limiting yourself by staying there. And a lot of people are like, well, you can stay there 3, 4, 5 years, but them 3 years that you may stay there may be the downfall of you. All right. Yeah. Oh, everybody's always gonna cover their own ass, right? You gotta always, again, people think y'all think I be hard on y'all and stuff like that. I'm like, nah, man, I'm just trying to let you know that people are out here covering their own ass and leveling up. They're not going to tell you that they went and took a class on Saturday night or they went and got a certificate. They're not going to discuss it with you. Right? A lot of people like, oh, I don't want them to know I was doing that. Mm-mm. Yeah, I did that. I finished this weekend, this, that, and the other. And here's what I've learned in the class, and I think we could utilize it here. Here's my plan to integrate that. What are y'all thoughts? Oh, you not sure? Okay? Well, I just do it. I just integrate it anyway. Right?
choices. Your past isn't responsible for your future. You are. The inner work gets interesting here. For some people, outsourcing accountability is actually a way of avoiding failure. If someone else is responsible for your
Mm.
outcomes and you don't succeed, well, it's not really your fault, is it? For others, it's about avoiding the discomfort of not knowing what you don't know. When someone else creates your plan, sets your standards, or defines your success, you don't have to confront your own gaps or limitations. And for some, it's about
Ooh.
avoiding the vulnerability of taking full ownership.
Ooh, did y'all hear them last little sentences right there? She been cooking. She been roasting.
Knowing what you don't know. When someone else creates your plan, sets your standards, or defines your success, you don't have to confront your own gaps or limitations. And for some, it's about avoiding the vulnerability of taking full ownership. What's outsourcing your accountability actually costing you? It makes you passive in your own life, hoping someone else cares as much about your success as you do. It limits your growth to what others can see or provide. It makes you dependent on external circumstances that you can't control. It robs you of the confidence that comes from taking charge of your own outcomes. So, how do you create a personal accountability system for your entire life? Start asking yourself, what would I do if I were completely responsible for this outcome? Whether it's your career, relationships, health, or happiness. List 5 specific actions you take if no one else was going to fix it. What standards am I letting others set for me? Define your own excellence in work relationships, personal habits. Stop defaulting to what's expected or acceptable. Where am I waiting for perfect conditions instead of creating progress? Identify 3 areas where you're using circumstances as an excuse for inaction. What feedback am I avoiding because it's uncomfortable? Name the conversations you need to have and schedule them this week. What am I hoping someone else will do that I need to do myself? From setting boundaries to pursuing goals, where are you waiting for rescue? The diagnostic question: if no one else was responsible for any aspect of my life starting tomorrow, what would my 90-day action plan look like? Your answer reveals exactly where you've been outsourcing accountability. Look, I'm not suggesting that supportive environments don't matter, they do. But making your outcomes dependent on perfect conditions is like waiting for perfect weather to go for a walk. You'll end up spending a lot of time indoors. Here's the paradox: when you stop depending on others for your growth and happiness, you often become more valuable to them. When you take full responsibility, you become someone others want to work with, be with, and invest in. Because people who don't need to be rescued are the ones worth betting on. The people who thrive in any environment don't need the environment to be perfect. They create their own opportunities,
Bang,
set
bang,
their
bang,
own
bang, bang,
standards,
bang,
and
bang.
hold themselves accountable for their own vision of success. Stop waiting. Stop hoping someone else will care about your life as much as you do. Stop depending on systems, people, or circumstances to create your outcomes. You are responsible for your life, whether you're acknowledging it or not. The only question is whether you're going to be intentional about that responsibility or let it happen by default. You're the author of your life story. The question is whether you're going to write it actively or let someone else hold the pen. You ready? Let's get to work.
Are you outsourcing accountability? God dang. All right, I'm gonna play the end of it again, like this little part right. I think it was about right here where it was at. I'm gonna play that part, this little part right. Yeah. Oh, that's question 4. Let's go back, like right in here. All right, one more time. One more time for your mind.
For success, you don't have to confront your own gaps or limitations. And for some, it's about avoiding the vulnerability of taking full ownership.
So what she's saying right there is this gets back into managing versus leading. A lot of people don't, they outsource what needs to get done because if something fails, they could just blame it on somebody. And this is what I mean about management. Most of the time, and this is just my own personal experience, managing, they look for a, they look to single out individual tasks so they can point to the failure. Versus if you follow the blameless culture, it's not a failure on one person, it's a failure on everybody, right? When you start looking to point out, oh, that person failed or that team failed over there, you're never going to win. And I'm going to tell you why you're not going to win. Because now you're taking the accountability from yourself, right? You're like, I didn't have nothing to do with that. That wasn't me. No, that was it was us. We all failed. We didn't see that coming. Why didn't we see that coming? What were we doing? Why didn't we see that? Right? We failed, right? That's something we got to work on. But we don't want to work on it because we just want to pinpoint, like you see line 4. Yeah, line 4. Yeah, that team right there. Yeah, something we need to get rid of. Versus the whole team failed. Why did we fail? What are we missing? So that's that thing there. Let's go.
What's outsourcing your accountability actually costing you? It makes you passive in your own life, hoping someone else cares as much about your success as you do. It limits your growth to what others can see or provide. It makes you dependent on external circumstances that you can't control. It robs you of the confidence that comes from taking charge of your own outcomes. So, how do you create a personal accountability system for your entire life? Start asking yourself, what would I do if I were completely responsible for this outcome? Whether it's your career, relationships, health, or happiness. List 5 specific actions you take if no one else was going to fix it. What standards am I letting others set for me? Define your own excellence in work relationships, personal habits. Stop defaulting to what's expected or acceptable. Where am I waiting for perfect conditions instead of creating progress? Identify 3 areas where you're using circumstances as an excuse for inaction. What feedback am I avoiding because it's uncomfortable? Name the conversations you need to have and schedule them this week. What am I hoping someone else will do that I need to do myself? From setting boundaries to pursuing goals, where are you waiting for rescue? The diagnostic question: if no one else was responsible for any aspect of my life starting tomorrow, what would my 90-day action plan look like? Your answer reveals exactly where you've been outsourcing accountability. Look, I'm not suggesting that supportive environments don't matter, they do. But making your outcomes dependent on perfect conditions is like waiting for perfect weather to go for a walk. You'll end up spending a lot of time indoors. Here's the paradox: when you stop depending on others for your growth and happiness, you often become more valuable to them. When you take full responsibility, you become someone others want to work with, be with, and invest in. Because people who don't need to be rescued are the ones worth betting on. The people who thrive in any environment don't need the environment to be perfect. They create their own opportunities, set their own standards, and hold themselves accountable for their own vision of success. Stop waiting. Stop hoping someone else will care about your life as much as you do. Stop depending on systems, people, or circumstances to create your outcomes. You are responsible for your life, whether you're acknowledging it or not. The only question is whether you're going to be intentional about that responsibility or let it happen by default. You're the author of your life story. The question is whether you're going to write it actively or let someone else hold the pen. You ready? Let's get to work. I get it. Taking that first step can feel daunting.
All right,
I've been
people.
there too.
I think you got the gist of what I was putting down today. Remember, SMART. It's how you're being measured, right? Specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time bound. But again, you all have to take accountability for things that you need to do. You also need to understand how the organization works so you can move throughout the organization. Relationships. You're gonna have to set a time, some time, 15 minutes. Hey, just wanted to get to know who you are, what you're about, what do you like to do, blah 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 blah. Right? Is there something I can help you with? Is there something that you need, a roadblock you need removed? What does that look like? Right? Again, scheduling time with folks and spending time with them. It's not that you're trying to get into their personal life because you're not. You're just trying to move. You're just trying to see where can I put this person at that where they can be the happiest and most effective and move the way they want to autonomously and also get good results, right? Nothing like, hey, maybe you work better with a team. Maybe you work better by yourself. Maybe we'll give you this small project to work on the next 2 weeks by yourself, but then we need to have you come back and work with a team. All right. I want you all to be able to be leaders. You're gonna manage, but really leaders and leaders in your positions. Her channel is here, Jenny Clark, right here. Um, go home. Here's her video here, channel. Um, here, and then the videos are here. Oh, Dion don't have the thing up. Here's her channel here, Jenny Clark, and then here's the videos that I pulled from. All right. Why do we have performance reviews? The war in the workplace privacy. Are you on repeat? That's a good one. Why we pit employees against each other. That was another good one I was gonna pull up. Um One-on-one coaching, so forth. And then I went to her website as well too. So here's her website here. Um and she has different things so you can do work with me or speaking or whatever. And then she got some resources out here, career mapping, a career mapping workbook, charting your coursing and the work, uh, and so forth. So, yeah, got a workplace bully, the imposter syndrome, a toxic workplace. Are you navigating a toxic workplace? Right. So she goes into that. That was posted 2 years ago. Got over 500 comments on here. And are you navigating a toxic workplace? You should know if it's toxic or not. You understand it, right? Let me see what she say right here. All right, so let me pull this up right here.
You talk about consideration being a form of intelligence, but what do I do when being considerate gets me labeled as soft or taken advantage of by colleagues who aren't being considerate back? Well, I think the point is here consideration includes considering yourself and setting clear boundaries about what you will and won't tolerate. True consideration sometimes requires difficult conversations and holding people accountable. So don't confuse consideration with people pleasing or avoiding conflict. You need to model the behavior, but don't enable poor behavior from others. So document some of the patterns and address them directly. I've noticed when I extend flexibility, it doesn't seem reciprocated. Think about that. Try those things.
All right, folks. I think you all got a lot of gems today. I think you all got a lot of work to do. All right. Now take this and look at how you can navigate this, incorporate this into not just your work experience, but into your day to day. Understanding what you're accountable for, how to measure your own work, your goals, and understanding how to navigate people, and then also be a leader in your own right. Whatever it is that you choose to do, just make sure you lead in it. And then listen, some of you don't want to lead. I get it, but the ones that do lead, understand humility. Understand just because somebody critique you doesn't mean that it's negative. And understand how to critique someone. I think that is another thing I'll probably bring up next week. Until then, I'll catch y'all next week. Appreciate you.